Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 12, Text 19. Sadadarsha vimanargyam navaso avatara dhruvaha vibrajaye dashatisho Rakapatim Nivoditam. Translation purport by Divine Grace of Higher Chaitanya Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. As soon as the symptoms of his liberation were manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full moon were coming down, illuminating all the 10 directions. Purport. There are different levels of acquired knowledge. Direct knowledge, knowledge received from authorities, transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond the senses, and finally spiritual knowledge. When one surpasses the stage of acquiring knowledge by the descending process, he is immediately situated on the transcendental platform. Dhruva Maharaj, being liberated from the material concept of life, was situated in transcendental knowledge and could perceive the presence of transcendental airplane, which was as brilliant as the full moonlight. This is not possible in the stage of direct or indirect perception of knowledge. Such knowledge is a special favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can, however, rise to this platform of knowledge by the gradual process of advancing in devotional service or Krishna consciousness. So Dhruva Maharaj finally is about to go back to Godhead. So this process of Krishna consciousness, the process of going back to Godhead, is a very real thing. It's not like a imagination or some story or a belief or a faith system. This opportunity is available for any human being in Bhumandala, in this earth. That's the speciality of this place. Of course, there is Swarga. There are places which has more enjoyment, more pleasures, more happiness. But this place is a place, very special place. Hence it is called as Karma Bhumi, where one can acquire eligibility to reach the goal of life. First of all, people in this world does not know what is the goal of life. Not only in this Kali Yuga, even in the Vedic times, it is not that people knew what the goal of life is, final goal of life is. Because in Vedic times also, even though people were very Vedic, very followers of some Vedic spiritual or semi-spiritual process, they were more into acquiring punya. They were more into acquiring happiness for the next life. That is why many times when the Westerners translate the Shastras, they belittle the Vedic knowledge because they think this is all stories to keep people disciplined so that they will all be nice students and the king or the government can easily control them, saying that if you follow the king, if you follow this, if you follow that, next lifetime you can enjoy. So the present modern crowd would say that, tell me how can I enjoy now? Forget next life. Today I want to enjoy. Do you have a system? So when we preach also we come across, today can I be happy? Or sometimes people say, today can I go back to Godhead? Of Because people are looking at immediate result. They have no idea of longevity of life. Not even longevity of material life, longevity of the life of Atma. How many years does Atma live? So these principles are not known. Nevertheless, this place, Bhumandala, is an ideal place to achieve what Dhruva Maharaj achieved. Many stories we see in Bhagavatam, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Vidura, many people, not only saintly people. We hear the story of Vritrasura. All these people who are qualified, who are acquired eligibility. So what is eligibility? That is what we need to know, and that is the purpose of knowledge. How to be eligible to achieve the goal of life. And what is that goal of life? Goal of life is to be situated in our original position. Original position. What is original position? Original position is situated in self, Atma, independent of any material energy, subservient, maintained, protected, sheltered by the original shelterer, original protector. Who is that? Lord Krishna. So that is the goal of life. So people don't realize this. The goal of life is to come to my original position, giving up all these so-called coverings, which today is limiting us. The coverings of material body, mind, all these things are today limiting us in realizing who we are. But foolishly, we don't see these limitations as limitations. We see these things as lack of experience or lack of endeavor. If somebody is not achieved his goal in life, then they say, anybody you go to, they say, you have to try hard. I tried hard, I didn't get. Try harder. Next year you go and say, I tried harder, I didn't get. Try harder and harder. So everything is based on your endeavor, without knowing that there is a whole prison which is limiting you. It is like going to the prison house and saying that, you can be free by doing certain things which the prison house does not allow. You can be free only by following the principles of the prison house, and if your character is good, and if the prison superintendent knows that you are reformed, then you can go out. Same way, in this world also, in this Bhumandala specifically, is a place for us to reform and show the superintendent of this material world. Who is that? Durga, standing with Trishul, telling her, I am ready. Then she will smile and say, okay. Then you are let out. Not letting out on payroll, permanently let out. So how many people in this world know that being in this earthly planet is an opportunity to jump to our original position? So this is a speciality of Bhumandala, where one can acquire punya after punya after punya, and then ultimately go beyond the stage of punya and come to transcendental level and then go back to Godhead. So that is exactly what Prabhupada says, a very special purport. Prabhupada says, yes, knowledge is the way to acquire. Knowledge is the way out. Even in the material world, knowledge is the way. If you want to know anything about matter, knowledge. You want to know anything about space, again knowledge. So even material things are based on knowledge. Spiritual things are definitely based on knowledge. So knowledge is the most important thing to acquire in this world. So Prabhupada very nicely explains different kinds of knowledge. And many of us don't hear this in many other purports of Prabhupada. Hence this purport is very special, where Prabhupada is revealing what are the kinds of knowledge and what is the knowledge you have to get to go back to God, to realize the goal. Krishna also gives a description of what is knowledge in Gita, what is ignorance in Gita. You don't find any special subject matter of this material world. Krishna gives a list of knowledge. You don't find biology, aeroscience, thermoscience, all this as knowledge. Rather, you will find what as knowledge? No, not that. Prabhupada, the translation says many points like humility, studying our Shastra, tolerance, surrendering to a spiritual master, these as knowledge. So they are actually the requirements to get the knowledge. Hence they are also part of knowledge. Cleanliness, godliness, these are the points Krishna gives as knowledge. Why? Because this is the criteria you need to get this knowledge, the final knowledge. And what are these knowledge as Prabhupada explains here? Direct knowledge, knowledge received from authorities, transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond the senses, and finally spiritual knowledge. So what is the difference between these knowledges? Direct knowledge, knowledge received from authorities, transcendental knowledge. It's just not stopping at transcendental knowledge. Prabhupada differentiate between transcendental knowledge and spiritual knowledge. Why? Transcendental knowledge is any knowledge beyond the body and mind. Anything beyond body and mind is called transcendental knowledge. Even Mayavadis are getting transcendental knowledge. But that knowledge does not take you back to Godhead, to your original position. Mayavadis who say that God is Nirakara, they don't accept servitude to the Lord, they don't accept Bhakti Yoga, they are in the state of Nirguna Brahman or oneness, Akhanda Brahman. Because everything ends up in oneness in this material world. So philosophers, material philosophers, or spiritual transcendental philosophers like Mayavadis, which are many in this material world now in Kali Yuga especially. So they all go to a point of knowledge and reach this one point. Everything is one. Because if you analyze in this material world, finally you see everything is one. Panchabhutas, the subtle form, everything is coming from one Mahat Tattva, a material soup from which everything is coming down. Mahat Tattva, that is what differentiates between the spiritual world and the material world. And the Supreme Lord glances into Mahat Tattva and he starts giving the time element and the Trigunas and start acting, and everything starts coming out from that blueprint which is called Mahat Tattva. So finally they all can say that Mahat Tattva, everything which is one, because finally all this body is one. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, the subtle forms, manas, buddhi, ahankara. All this is coming from the three modes of material nature with the interaction of time element. If time is not there, everything is stopped in this material world. No Rajoguna, no Sattoguna, no Tamoguna, nothing will work in this world. Time starts everything. So when you go beyond that, what is that? Timeless existence. An existence of existence. Permanent, eternal existence. So that is this oneness they get into, where there is no form of God, there is no form for the soul, but just existence. That is one of the characters of the soul, because soul is eternal. But soul is not only eternal, soul is full of happiness, soul is full of knowledge. So where do you get those two elements from? Material knowledge or the impersonal knowledge takes you a point where you can understand that everything is one and everything is permanently existing. Because permanence is a nature you can perceive in this world. Existence, permanent existence, because we want to live eternally. Anything you touch, you want it permanently. You take an ice stick, you want the ice stick to remain permanently. But it doesn't remain permanently. There are many forces which works on the ice stick and makes it to melt and finish. So child will cry. As soon as the ice stick falls, she will cry. Why? Permanence is there as an inner desire or inner nature of every living entity. That is why there is fear of death. Why? No, I want to be permanent. I don't want to finish. So this is the nature of the soul. So the permanent existence in this material world, when you go higher and higher and higher and higher, that comes to this Nirakara knowledge or Akhanda knowledge. But then the full potency of the spirit soul is not revealed there. There is no Ananda. Ananda comes from activity as a result of something. Ananda comes from relationship. So in the material world, everybody wants a relationship. Money is not the main thing which gives Ananda. What money can buy gives the Ananda. And what money can give from, what things come out of money, if it is loving me, if it is favorably to me, then there is happiness. So happiness comes from these interactions. So people try to interact with every living entity and they all reach frustration, no happiness. They try to acquire material things, no happiness. Finally, if they surrender to the Supreme Lord, and when there is a relationship between Bhakta and Bhagavan through the process of Bhakti, then there is Ananda. This is spiritual Ananda. This Ananda is not coming from anywhere, it is coming from inside the heart. It is coming from the soul, because there is a nature of the soul. That knowledge is beyond transcendental knowledge. That is why there is a differentiation between transcendental knowledge and spiritual knowledge. The third is transcendental knowledge, the knowledge beyond the senses. Then spiritual knowledge. So only when we reach a state of spiritual knowledge do we get really free from this material world and go back to Godhead. And that is the state Dhruva Maharaj is today in. As soon as the symptoms of liberation has appeared in him. What is the symptom of liberation? Symptoms of liberation is he has gone beyond direct knowledge, knowledge from authorities, transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond the senses, and finally spiritual knowledge. Another place Prabhupada says, once when a person is expert in chanting the holy name of the Lord and directly connected to the holy name, then like a cinema, the transcendental world is revealed in his heart. The actual existence of the spiritual world is revealed in one's heart. One go beyond senses, mind and everything. So that is the state what Dhruva Maharaj has reached today. And that is the goal of life. Goal of life to reach that position of transcendental knowledge which is free from all material contamination and directly sourcing from the Supreme Lord and connecting the Atma to the Supreme Lord. Then one can go back to Godhead. So going back to Godhead requires all these stages. Stages of going beyond matter, going beyond subtle matter, going beyond akhanda knowledge, going beyond all that perceivable knowledge and open oneself to spiritual knowledge. So that is a position one can reach even through Bhakti Yoga, which many people do not realize. People think Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all these yogas will take us to this position. But Bhagavatam is giving a very easy process of reaching that knowledge through Harinam Sankirtan. Chanting the holy name of the Lord, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So through this process of Bhakti Yoga, one can reach the knowledge which Dhruva Maharaj has reached. And in this earthly planet, it is special to get this knowledge. Because in heavenly planet, we are busy in enjoying. In Patala, we are busy enjoying, but actually which is suffering, which is more and more binding. They get more and more bound and they go into darker and world thinking that it is happiness. Just like in the material world, people think this is happiness. Running from morning till evening in the name of work is happiness. Struggling for existence is happiness. But they do not know the real happiness comes from the soul within the heart. So differentiating between happiness coming from matter, differentiating between knowledge coming from matter, and knowledge coming from the Supreme Lord, revealed in the heart. That is why Material people cannot appreciate spiritual knowledge. When we tell them, how is knowledge come? It is revealed in the heart. So they say, it is revealed in my heart also. How do you prove? It is revealed in your heart, not in my heart. If it can be revealed in your heart, it will reveal my heart also. The Lord is same for everybody. Your God cannot give knowledge to you alone, should give knowledge to me also. What they forget is, what is the preparations you have done? What is the qualification you have to get that knowledge? So to qualify for that knowledge, it starts with controlling the senses, controlling the mind. There are many do's and don'ts. You have to do these things, you don't do these things. So we have to follow the process of sadhana bhakti. So when the process of step-by-step process of sadhana bhakti is followed, then one becomes qualified to perceive this knowledge which is coming from the heart. When one surpasses the stage of acquiring knowledge by the descending process, he is immediately situated on the transcendental platform. So that stage of knowledge is a state where you don't depend on anything for knowledge other than the Supreme Lord Himself. It is direct connection. This is what Prabhupada gives very, very simple example, and he tries to teach us. He says, by keeping iron in the fire. You keep iron in the fire, iron becomes fire. Same way, if you, the contaminated consciousness, is kept near the Supreme Consciousness, the Supreme Lord, then you also become like the Supreme Lord's consciousness. Very simple process. And this connecting process is called yoga. People misunderstand. Yoga means standing upside down, alone. That is only a very physical exercise to control the life air and to control the soul, control the mind, to fix one on one point. And if you are fortunate, you can see the Paramatma. That is all. And you can achieve that through even intellectual jugglery. Different intellectual subject matter, you go into it, and finally arrive at permanence beyond this world. But Bhakti Yoga, which starts with loving service to the Supreme Lord, cleanses one's body, cleanses one's mind, cleanses one's contaminated consciousness, and reveals the soul. And because the soul's nature is Ananda, you are also Ananda. You are also in happiness. This is the happiness, what should be there, which is permanent happiness. And that is that happiness we are all trying to look. Just like the deer, which is trying to look for that smell. Where is the smell from? Where is the smell from? Without knowing that smell is coming from himself. Kasturi brick, a very famous example given in transcendental languages. So soul is happy by nature, and I'm looking for happiness. That is the foolishness, Krishna says, people in the material world are. Hence he calls them mudas. You are having that Ananda in you. Hence the process of Bhakti Yoga uncovers these impurities one by one and puts us in the state of real connection with the Supreme Lord, which is Ananda. So that is the stage Dhruva Maharaj is in. It is not depending upon his senses, he is not depending upon his mind, he is depending upon anything that he has heard, he has learned, that is discerning knowledge. He is not even depending on what he has heard from authorities. He is in his full position. What is that? Brahman. Satchit Ananda, soul, surrender to the Supreme Lord, and he is one with the Supreme Lord, not in merging, but in existence. And he is in perfect relation with the Supreme Lord. Only when you reach that stage, we can go back to Godhead. This word, going back to Godhead, is a very, very common word we use in ISKCON. Going back to Godhead. As like we say, I'm going to first block to buy some medicine. Go back to Godhead. But going back to Godhead is a process which requires so much of effort. Not for gaining material things, effort to uncover ourselves. That is why this process is called the process of process of utmost self-importance. It is for our own self-good. But sometimes we think this as restrictions. Rules and regulation as restrictions. Do this, don't do this as restrictions. Even though Bhagavad Gita tells these are all regulative principles of freedom, which really frees you. So without knowing the purpose of these do's and don'ts, we sometimes complain. But we should think that these are all rules and regulations satisfy my own self. It is going to give me my utmost final state of existence, which is Ananda. So when we do step by step that process of uncovering the soul from all the different things which is sticking or holding him into the material world, then we reach a stage which Dhruva Maharaj has reached, a stage to go back to Godhead. At that time, you will see the vehicle. Where in this material world, we don't see so many vehicles coming. It is not for us, it is beyond our understanding. Some devotee is passing away, a vehicle comes and takes him. We didn't see any vehicle, we didn't hear any sound. But these vehicles don't depend upon material, physical laws. The devotee directly perceives the Lord, and Lord's Vishnu Dutas coming and taking him. So the process which we are following is so important that it makes us all qualified to be taken by Krishna's servants. Many times, many Western people have had experience of seeing all kinds of unwanted beings at the time of death. Some people who have come out of near-death experience say, I saw very ghastly people. So somebody has come to take you. The same way, devotees at the time of death who have followed the principles and who have been selected by Krishna. As Prabhupada says here, this is not possible in the stage of direct or indirect perception of knowledge. Such knowledge is a special favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when Krishna favors, it includes people here sitting and talking Bhagavatam and chanting and following. Krishna has to favor us. When Krishna favors us, then the vehicle comes to go back to Godhead. So these are all not stories. These are all based on your eligibility. If we become eligible by the process of cleansing ourselves, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So every small thing what we do in Krishna consciousness as given by Prabhupada are all direct things which actually frees us from our coverings. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. Tatparatvena nirmalam. Sarva upadi, removing all these coverings of sense gratification, covering of securing our false ego, covering of acquiring desire to acquire knowledge, and also the covering of becoming like the Lord, because there is problem in every stage, not only in the beginning stage. The beginning stage we say that it's very difficult to control senses, very difficult to follow principles. Not only in the beginning stage, even in the middle stage, when you think that I know everything, I am free from material sense enjoyments, I feel myself very liberated. Now maybe I am God. Maybe I have siddhas. I am a very important person. That is also another catch. So when we go beyond all these things and become totally surrendered to the Supreme Lord, without any personal desire, then we may get the favor of the Lord. And when the favor of the Lord is there, then we can go back to Godhead. So this is science, as Prabhupada said. This is science of Krishna consciousness. The science where you follow, you will have the Lord's vehicle coming and taking you to the spiritual world. Because you have no work in this material world. That is why. As long as we have work in the material world, we are in this material world. And what is the symptom of that? Attachment to the material things. As long as we are attached to material things, even subtle things, name, fame, puja, pratishtha, lava, self-importance. As long as we have, starting from gross sense gratification to the state of self-importance, as long as we have that, which means we are a citizen of this material world. And as long as we are citizen of this material world, we cannot, no vehicle will come to go to spiritual world. Many vehicles in material world will come. Take us to America, take us to Holland. Then you become more qualified, take you to moon, where you can enjoy. You are more advanced, you go to Janaloka, Tapaloka, Mahaloka, Satyaloka. Everywhere you can go. But to cross the shell and go to the spiritual world, that self-importance should go. Like Prabhupada in another verse, he says the difference between the going back to the difference between Durvasa Muni and Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a transcendental space traveler. He can go anywhere he wants. Material world, spiritual world, Vaikuntha, anywhere he can go. He is happily traveling and singing the glories of the Lord. And we hear in the story of Ambarish Maharaj that Durvasa Muni also traveled everywhere. But what is the difference between his qualification to travel everywhere and Narada Muni's qualification to travel everywhere? Durvasa Muni still had that self-importance. So he was, even though he was a mystic who could go to even to Vaikuntha, or at least Svetodipa, to see the Lord, to take his shelter, go to Shiva, go to Brahma. Why he was running around? Because Sudarshan was behind him to punish him. So his running around and free in this material world is a sign not of liberation, it is a sign of self-importance. He is like a person who is in the mouth of cat. A rat in the mouth of cat. And at the same time, a kitten in the mouth of cat. A kitten is also held by the same teeth of the cat, and the rat is also held by the same teeth of the cat. But the rat is trembling in fear. But the kitten is happily situated, even though it is carried by the same teeth of the cat. So Durvasa Muni is like a rat in the mouth of a cat, trembling and running around. So don't think that that liberation, that ability to go everywhere is freedom. Rather, the consciousness of Narada is always surrendered and he is singing the glories of the Lord and he is eligible to go anywhere and everywhere. So eligibility to go everywhere, or eligibility of a pure devotee, or a qualification of the pure devotee or a pure person, should not be misunderstood just by the external abilities he has. It is the internal connection that he has with the Lord which makes him a pure or a not pure person. Favored by the Lord. Narada is favored by the Lord. He is liberated, eternally liberated person. So this is a science which makes any... why is it called science? Science, it is called science because the characteristics of science is that it doesn't matter who is the performer, the result should be the same. Right? If I mix hydrogen and oxygen, I should get water. You also mix hydrogen and oxygen, you should get water. Any XYZ, mix these two things, you should get the same result. Same way, Krishna consciousness is a science, no matter who follows it, Hindus, Muslims, Christians, as long as you are a human being having this Viveka Shakti, if you follow that process, you will get liberation. That is why this is called science of Krishna consciousness, science of God consciousness. Prabhupada always says, it is not some kind of a faith, it is science. The science of uncovering the material contamination of the soul and make the soul free from any connection, make him qualified to be favored by the Lord. And if he is favored by the Lord, then guarantee vehicle will come. So this is the state of Dhruva Maharaj. He is ready to go back to Godhead. So we will see further how he goes, what is his consciousness when he goes, what he thinks while going. Stop here. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the class. My question is in 4.9.29, so earlier in the canto, it says, when one aspires to become the topmost leader or topmost person in this material world, and thus one competes with all others, is described as an asuric desire, and a pure devotee has no demand from the Lord. And when Dhruva Maharaj went to the Lord with this specific goal in mind to become king, later on he lamented that he went to the Lord with motivation rather than just doing pure devotional service. However, when a pure Vaishnav is king, Prabhupada says that all the problems of satanic government...
Which is that was 4.9?
29.
So what is your question?
So my question is that the world is happier when there's a Vaishnav king, but at the same time, the desire to be king is condemned. So
at the same time?
The desire to be a king is condemned. So I'm confused about why is it bad that Dhruva Maharaj wanted to be a king when the world would be so much better off that he is in that position.
So, being a king, the desire to be a king. So, Dhruva Maharaj had both the things. One is the desire to be the king, and he lamented that later on as a hindrance to go back to Godhead. That's what your question is?
My question is it says that it's an asuric quality to aspire to be the topmost personality in the world. But Dhruva Maharaj more or less aspired for that position.
Yes.
So in that case, when a Vaishnav desires it, it's no longer asuric?
It is like Prabhupada said, using the best or the bad bargain in this material world. Coming to this material world itself is a bad bargain, being in this material world. But being in the material world, there is a situation, certain situations are good in this material world. And what is that situation? One of the situations is to be a Vaishnava. So when we are a Vaishnava in this material world, it's a good position. It's a bad thing. You are in the material world, it is bad. You are in the material world, you are contaminated, you are impure, you are in the material world. But the best position to be in the material world is to be a Vaishnava. Because you can save people, you can save yourself. A good Vaishnava king can liberate everybody. For example, when the Lord Ramachandra was the king of Ayodhya, he could liberate everybody. Prabhupada mentioned he took everybody back to Godhead who was in Ayodhya. So a king's position is such that if he is pure, he can benefit himself and everybody in this world. But at the same time, to aspire to be a king, that is asuric, right? So there's kind of a confusion there. So it is like using the best of the bad bargain. Yes, being a king is asuric. But Dhruva Maharaj, he desired to be the king from his childish ignorance and that childish impurity, you can call it that way. But the Lord favored him somehow, and that can be attributed to two things. It can be attributed to the mercy of Narada Muni, who was a spiritual master, and his determination to see the Supreme Lord, to ask, because his mother said, go and ask Vishnu, he will make you the king. So looks like it is like there is a disparity in these two things. It is true, it is there. On your own, if you want to become the king, it is an asuric tendency. But as Prabhupada said, deserve before you desire. So Dhruva Maharaj deserved to be a king naturally because he was born such a kingly place. He was the son of such a great king. He had a mother who is a princess. Of course, she was not so much favored by the king, but he had the qualities to be a king. It's not that he struggled to be a king. Naturally, he became a king. But he had this tiff between him and his other brother, who the father happened to favor. So he got a little upset. So his big trying to be a king is not like any of us trying to be a king, jumping on head of everybody and trying to be the number one man. It has so much selfish desire. So since there is so much selfish desire to enjoy and control the living entities, it is an asuric tendency. But somehow you become a king by your desire, sanctioned by the Lord or a combination of both. In case of Dhruva Maharaj, he had a desire, it was sanctioned by the Lord. Once something is sanctioned by the Lord, it is beyond material things. I mean, it gets a spiritual characteristics. So he was favored by the Lord. And not only that, when his brother was killed, he went on a war and he practically got so angry. Can a pure devotee get angry? So all these kind of dual things are there in Dhruva Maharaj's life. But finally, because he was favored by the Lord, that is why the most important line in this purport would be that such knowledge is a special favor of the Supreme Personality of God. So he is a not transcendental autocrat. He cannot question Krishna. Why do you give such a person called Dhruva Maharaj position back to Godhead? I chose. So finally it comes to surrendering to the Lord's desire. Finally it comes to being favored by the Lord, no matter what your desires were. So in the material sense, yes, trying to be a king, trying to be lord of everybody is an asuric tendency, the tendency of controlling. But a Vaishnava king, when you become a Vaishnava, then you lose that controlling tendency. You're supposed to lose that controlling tendency and you should be favoring everybody. So a Vaishnava king is a blessing, but the tendency to become a king is asuric. You see? Is that clear?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you so much.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So from this verse, if any Vaishnava wants to take full advantage of it, at least end of the day, it is important that he introspects. That
in the end of the day?
Introspecting himself. That whether I am in line with Krishna conscious philosophy and our purpose of being here, and that is nothing but, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the prominent quality of a Vaishnava, kindness, gentleness, tolerance, etc. Those qualities somewhere I am touching upon. At least, am I against that? Is it that way we can take advantage of this verse that I am qualified? Because specifically it is mentioned the translation. Dhruva Maharaj got all the symptoms. Here in our case also the same thing. 26 quality, symptom of a Vaishnava.
Symptoms of Vaishnavas are there, but we are not here to actually get those symptoms of Vaishnavas one by one. Okay, next 1 week I'm going to be humble. I acquire that quality of humble. Next week my goal is to reach another quality. No, we are not here to acquire or capture these qualities.
Symptom it is mentioned, Prabhu. What I'm trying to say here is, at least those symptoms are manifesting by doing devotional service. Yashasti Bhakti Bhagavati Aginchana.
Yes. All the divine qualities will appear in the body of a Vaishnava. Yes.
So we can also perceive it. If we are not perceiving, rather our God brothers, especially authorities, chastises us that you are.
So your question is that we also perceive, just like Dhruva is perceiving, we also perceive ourselves by seeing the qualities which we have acquired by devotional service. But that is yes, at the same time no, because we are not supposed to perceive any good qualities in us. A pure devotee thinks that he has no qualities. So, to perceive that, okay, now this is the issue, this is the problem in devotional service. When a person becomes slowly advancing, all these qualities will start showing their head. And, okay, I have this quality, I have that quality, or maybe I'm great. So, seeing one's good qualities in one sense is a hindrance, because it can give rise to pride, it can give rise to self-importance, etc. So always a devotee himself, he thinks that he has not acquired any qualities. Now the symptoms in us, who will perceive? Yes, as you said, yes, our senior devotees, people who are mentoring us, they probably would perceive that. And it is also said that having perceived these good qualities in a devotee, it is said that you don't glorify a devotee directly, because it can sometimes hinder his growth. So sometimes qualities are there, but it's not publicized. And this world is full of publicity. Modern age is full of publicity. Publicize everything that you have. But a pure devotee doesn't publicize anything, because he does not want to feel that he's become that. So it is like a very funny situation where you have that quality, at the same time you don't recognize it yourself and you don't want others to recognize itself. So yes and no. So you may see qualities, like somebody may think, after I'm chanting for so many decades, I'm chanting, I'm dancing, and I feel so close to the Lord, maybe I'm becoming pure devotee. No, at the time the devotee thinks, no, these are all my mental speculation. When yesterday night I had a great dream, which means I am going close to Krishna, this dream, and he publicizes the dream. What is wrong, Prabhu? I got a very good dream of being a good devotee. But a devotee in real, it is again, it's right, but a devotee doesn't do that, because the connection a devotee has with the Supreme Lord is very, very, very personal. It's a very, very personal wealth that he has, and he doesn't want to publicize that wealth. It's an asset, and these are all called spiritual assets. So these assets, all the qualities, abhushana, these are the ornaments of a devotee. So being an ornament, it is visible to people. Yes, he is. But for himself, he doesn't give any value to these abhushanas. And even if the Lord comes in the dream and says, I have selected you, he is not going to send a WhatsApp message to all his contacts. That's what we all do, right? Modern world, nice verse, send it to everybody. Nice realization. Prabhu, I had this realization, send it to everybody. But behind all this realization is my realization that I am supreme, or my realization that I am important. So devotee doesn't want to accept anything which prompts him to feel self-important. That is why it is said that it is very difficult to recognize a pure devotee. So the rule is that we don't judge anybody. Everybody beyond us is a pure devotee. Anybody little bit more than me is pure devotee for me. So we respect everybody. But among us, we don't know. There may be some pure devotee here. Right? So that is for the Lord to identify. Like Bhaktivedanta said, let us do devotional service so that the Lord recognizes you. Lord chooses you. So we don't choose ourselves. Many times in the material world we have these desires. So devotee is saying, I have been doing devotional service so many years, nobody is recognizing me. And what is the symptom of recognition? Some position. So when we get position, which means, I am a recognized devotee, which means I have become closer to the Lord. But in reality, the truth may be that nothing to do with devotional service. He is capable to do some work, so he was chosen. Not necessary that he is advanced in spiritual life. So sometimes we get trapped in these things because of my position. I think that, I am a selected person. Rather, when I get selected, I should think that I was unqualified. But somehow, by the mercy of devotees, I have been given an opportunity to serve. So every position we get is an opportunity to serve, rather than an opportunity to show that any spiritual position which I have gained. So these qualities which are there in the Vaishnavas, we aspire for it, of course, we want to get good qualities, but we don't try to judge to self-appraisal, in that language, self-appraisal. Okay, now where am I? A devotee thinks I am the last. A devotee thinks, 10 years, I am still the last. 20 years, I am still the last. 30 years, I am still the last. 50 years, I am still the last. I am in the deathbed, I am still the last. So he thinks he is the last among the seniority of any devotee. That is a pure devotee. But the Lord, he recognizes. So the quality to be recognized by the Lord requires the quality to be unrecognized by yourself. So when we are unrecognized by ourselves, in the sense I don't consider myself as qualified, the Lord considers you as qualified. But then if I try to acquire this quality of not to recognize myself as qualified, that is again self-respect. So it's a very difficult task. The most difficult yoga is Bhakti Yoga. People say Hatha Yoga is very difficult, Jnana Yoga is very difficult. You people only know how to chant and dance. It is very easy. You are not qualified to understand that great knowledge, so you chant and dance. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted, yes, my spiritual master said, I am number one fool. I don't know shastras, nothing, just chant. But the reality is that to do this to de-recognize yourself is the most difficult thing, because we are in the habit of always recognizing ourselves, always being number one, always being important, always being successful. We consider these are the things required for existence, otherwise we become depressed. But a devotee, no matter himself or the world does not recognize him, he only wants the recognition of the spiritual master and Krishna. So when we become qualified to be recognized only by Guru and Krishna, not in a proud way, but in a humble way, then we become really recognized. Hence Bhakti Yoga is very difficult to do self-denial, very difficult to give up self-importance, because that is so much embedded in the false identification which we have assumed in the contaminated consciousness. Hence it is very difficult. But the process becomes very simple by following Bhagavatam. That is the beauty of Bhagavatam. Such a difficult position of standing really naked, exposing our real soul and removing all the other things and standing in front of Krishna and making him accept us, like Draupadi's surrender. When she is fully surrendered, the Lord recognized her. So it's for us also. No matter what danger is there, or no matter what qualifications we have acquired, what knowledge we have acquired, what power we have acquired, whatever we have acquired, when we stand helplessly in front of the Lord may recognize us. So it's a very difficult position actually. Stop here. Gandhara Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada ki.